Okay, so we're going to talk about rational and irrational numbers for just a minute. So we're going to break them. Rational numbers are in the main category, real numbers, and then it breaks it down into the two subcategories, rational and irrational. So if can anybody tell me the difference between, or can anybody define rational for me? Not the difference, just can anybody define rational?
Whole numbers and negatives and decimals.
Yes, all those things, okay? So I'm going to give it just some specific wording that I want you to write down, okay? So I'm going to say, is a number that can be expressed as a fraction. Okay, so a number that can be expressed as a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to give a few examples and then I want y'all to throw out a few examples. So my first example is going to be 1/2. That is a fraction, right? Okay, the main part of this word here is ratio. So that's kind of where we get our fraction. So ratio is something compared to something else, right? So I'm going to give you another number. -18. Actually, I'm going to use a different color for these. -18. Okay. That can also be written as a fraction. How would I write -18 as a fraction?
-18 over 7.
How about 1? 1, because it's 18 wholes, right? Yeah? So that can be written as a fraction. What about 2? Man, that was an ugly 2. 2 and 1/4. Can that be written as a fraction? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it already is. Okay. How about 52? That can be written as a fraction, right? 3.6. Mm-hmm. We could go on and on and on. There's tons of rational numbers, just basic rational numbers. Somebody give me another one.
4 and 9/10.
Okay, 4 and 9/10. Good. Somebody else, give me something else. What you got?
17.
17, yep. Okay, so there's just a kind of a basic idea. So it is a number that can be expressed as a fraction. As long as we can write it as a fraction, it is rational. Okay, so if it's irrational, be thinking about that along that same lines. If it's irrational, what do you think it's going to be versus rational? If somebody's irrational, what are they? What? Okay, so they're not rational. So the opposite of rational, right? So it's going to be a number that cannot be written as a fraction. Okay? And so there's just one that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get more in depth with that. But today we're going to talk about the one number, and y'all learned it with circles last year, and it is pi. Why would pi be irrational? Well, it is a decimal, but that alone does not make it irrational. It's a decimal that goes on and does not stop, right? Remember, you could go 3.1415925 and keep on going. It would continue on going, okay? So it doesn't ever stop. If you round that number, then it becomes not that number and it becomes rational. So right now we're going to leave that as our one irrational number. So if you go back to the rational side, there are some subcategories within rational. So the first subcategory is that integers. Okay? Integers are negative and positive whole numbers. Okay? So I'm going to give you some examples of integers. Okay? So -18. How about positive 18? How about -265? How about 3? Those are all integers, and we can range anywhere as long as they're negative or positive whole numbers. Okay? 0 is an integer. Are you good with that? Okay, does that refresh, does you remember this from last year a little bit, I hope? Okay. And we're going down, so integers is like comparing to General Motors on my screen over here, okay? Right? Whole numbers is like comparing to Chevrolet. Okay, so we're breaking it down to even smaller subcategory, right? So whole numbers are positive numbers that include 0. Positive whole numbers. We kind of know what whole numbers are, right? Positive numbers that include 0. What does whole mean? Doesn't have a fraction or a decimal onto it. It's just a whole number. Okay. So let's do some examples of whole numbers. Anybody? What do you think? 17. What else? What do you got?
9,000.
9,000. Okay. We're still including 0 here. Okay. 0 is still included in whole numbers. Okay. Yes. 38. Good. Okay. So we're going to go on to the next one. So now we're down to the Corvette section, the smallest section. So natural numbers are the same thing as counting numbers. Counting numbers. So like, I want everybody to close your eyes. Okay? And so I want you to start counting. Okay? Okay, that's good. So where did y'all start counting from? 1. Did you start counting at 0? No. You say 1, 2, 3. So just like what you would count those numbers. So counting numbers do not include 0. Okay? So natural numbers are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Are y'all good with that? Okay? Is that pretty clear? Okay, there's one thing we really didn't talk about. So I'm going to write it up here. What about this? What is that?
A decimal. That is
It is a decimal.
Rational number.
Okay, but how do you know it's a rational number?
Because, it's an irrational number.
Can I change that to a fraction?
Yes.
What's 0.3333 repeating?
1.
1 what? Not just 1. Anybody know what the fraction is? Tell me.
1.3.
Not 1.3. It's 0.3. What is it as a fraction? Huh? 3 over 10 is 0.3. Good idea. But that just stops right there.
Oh, I got it.
What is it?
33. 1/3. Or
You're on the right track.
I think I got it. 3 over 1 billion.
Not quite.
Is it 1 over 3?
Yes, 1 over 3. It's 1/3. Okay, like 0.6666 repeating is, oh my gosh, it's clicking on it, is 2/3. Okay, so it's 1/3. So where is 1/3 rational or irrational? It's rational. Why?
Because it is a number that can be expressed as a fraction.
Yes, it can be expressed as a fraction. So I'm going to write a little note in here, and I'm going to say repeating decimals. I'm going to say includes repeating decimals. So 1/3 falls in rational numbers. But it is not negative or positive whole numbers. It is not a positive number that includes 0. It is not a counting number. It's just rational. Okay, so how do you feel about all of this? Okay, so I want you to compare this to what we wrote up there. Now, do you understand that if a number, let's throw an example up here. So we're going to do, let's say 15. Okay, so is 15 rational or irrational? Rational. Yes, it's rational. Okay, so write it at the bottom of your paper down there. Rational, 15, rational. Okay, so can I go on from there? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So what's my next question? Is it a what?
Is it a...
I go down. So if it's this, is it this? Is it an integer, negative or positive whole number?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to write it's an integer. Okay. If it's this, then I check the next one. Is it a whole number?
Yes.
Positive numbers that include 0. Yes, it's a whole number. My one last check is it a counting number?
Yes.
Yes. So it's a natural number. Okay, so it fits all that, so I'm going to put 15 in here. Okay? So I'm going to throw you another example. Negative 2.6. Okay? Rational or irrational? Negative 2.6. Rational or irrational? Rational. Okay. Okay. Then my next question, is it an integer?
Yes.
Is it a negative or positive whole number?
Negative.
Is it a whole number? No, it's negative, but it's not a negative or positive whole number. So we stop right there. So it's just rational. And that's okay. It can just be rational. Sometimes we're just rational, okay? Sometimes we're not anything else. Okay? Now, what about negative 18? Is it rational or irrational? Rational. Is it an integer?
Yes.
Yes. Is it a whole number?
Yes. No.
Positive? Nope. Nope. So we're just rational and we're an integer. Okay? So that's where I'm going to stop you right now.